Welcome to another study style video. I am Matt, and in this video we'll be talking about style 2C International Dark Lager. But of course, before we start, I have to give my usual disclaimer and say that I do not represent the BJCP in any way, shape, or form. The BJCP does not endorse nor probably even know about these videos or this series of videos and this entire style study series. This is purely my journey towards BJCP certification and learning about the styles in those guidelines along the way. Yeah, I should probably write this down. It might be a little easier. Anyway, let's get to it. So, International Dark Lager. Let's take a look at what the overall impression says about this one. It says, a darker, somewhat sweeter version of International Pale Lager with a little more body and flavor, but equally restrained in bitterness. The low bitterness leaves the malt as a primary flavor element, and the low hop levels provide very little in the way of balance. Let's take a look at those vital statistics. Now we're going to take a look at what we're going to be filling out the score sheet on for this one. So, vital statistics. We've got an SRM range of 14 to 22. We've got IBU range of 8 to 20. The original gravity for this beer is typically 1.044 to 1.056. And the finishing gravity can range from 1.008 to 1.012, giving us an ABV range of 4.2 to 6%. So let's look at the characteristics we are looking for on our score sheet. And we're going to start with aroma. Little to no malt aroma, may have light corn character. Medium low to no roast and caramel malt aroma. Hop aroma can range from none to light, spicy, or floral hop presence. While clean fermentation profile is generally desirable, low levels of yeast character, such as light apple fruitiness, are not a fault. A light amount of DMS or corn aroma is not a fault. Moving on to appearance, we are looking for deep amber to dark brown with bright clarity and ruby highlights. Foam stand may not be long lasting and is beige to light tan in color. On to flavor, we've got low to medium malt sweetness with medium low to no caramel and or roasted flavors, and may include hints of coffee, molasses, or cocoa. Hop flavor ranges from none to low levels and is typically floral, spicy, or herbal. Low to medium hop bitterness, may have a very light fruitiness, moderate to crisp finish. The balance is typically somewhat malty. Burnt or moderate strong roasted malt flavors are a defect. And finishing up with mouthfeel, we have a light to medium light body, smooth with a light creaminess, and medium to high carbonation. And of course, there are comments, history, and some characteristic ingredients, which you can check out yourself anytime from the BJCP 2015 guidelines at bjcp.org. Now let's take a look at the commercial examples they have for us to learn the style on. And there are a few on here I've seen, not all of them. And the pickings are starting to thin out now. Not near as much as our next video, spoiler alert, but starting to get to the point, or starting to get into the styles, I should say, where they're a little less common. But let's go through the list here. We've got Baltica No. 4 Original, Devil's Backbone Old Virginia Dark, Dixie Black and Voodoo, St. Pauli Girl Dark, San Miguel Dark, Session Dark Black Lager, and Shiner Bock. And of all those, some I've seen, but before this, but I didn't see this time around. I've seen Dixie Black and Voodoo, St. Pauli Girl Dark, and Session Black Dark Lager before, but in this shopping trip for this series, didn't find those. But luckily, I did find one on that list. And that is Shiner Bock. So this is what we're going to check out here. So I do believe I've had a Shiner Bock before. I will need a cup, of course. But it's been so long that honestly, it's a distant memory. So this review, what is this? The score sheet, filling out my score sheet is going to be a very now thing, because I really don't have much of a memory of this to work from. But before we do that, of course, I do have my sheet of highlights that you just saw on the screen. So we're going to take an initial look at all these, and then I'll do my score sheet and we'll be back to talk about it. So let's start with the open, see if we got a nice hiss, which I'm sure we will. We absolutely do. So I'm going to give it a decent pour, but not a competition pour, because I don't want to sit here and waste your time for 4 or 5 minutes waiting for the head to dissipate. We'll talk about that later when I go through the score sheet. So let's see. Aroma. Little to malt aroma is what I'm looking for, and that's what I'm getting. And it is a caramel, absolutely no roast, and it's oddly enough, it's what do I say? Not as dark as I expected from the description I just read, because they kept seeming to be mentioned like there's going to be a darkness to this, but there shouldn't be a roast flavor, so it's a little lighter than I expected. Light, spicy, or floral hop, possibly. I'll delve into that more when I get into the score sheet. Appearance, dark amber to dark brown, definitely dark amber, so on the low end of that. Bright clarity, it is. I'm not sure why I'm getting so many bubbles on the side of my cup. This is a plastic cup out of a sleeve. It should not be dirty, but who knows? Maybe this one fell off the conveyor line and got stacked back on. I really wish I hadn't thought of that before I'm going to drink out of this. But otherwise, it is quite clear. It's actually very clear now that I wiped away all the condensation. Beige to light tan head. I do believe the head I did see I would say it's definitely in the beige realm. Flavor. Low to medium malt sweetiness. Really on the finish. I was actually surprised how much of a kind of a snap of sting there was on the finish of that. Medium to low to no caramel roast. There's more caramel than, definitely no roast. There's more caramel than I'd say, well, medium low. Okay. That's probably stretching the definition of medium low. Is that finish? There's a caramel finish there. And that is that's kind of funny. As I was talking, it went from a snap of sweet and went into caramel as I was talking. It's a very interesting change on my palate on the finish. I don't know that I've experienced that before in recording these videos. Low to medium hops. Maybe. Well, I'm going to find out when I look at it a little closer. Crisp finish, absolutely. I think from my description earlier, you figured that is definitely a thing. Light to medium body, yes, somewhere in the middle of that. Smooth, yes. There's no astringency, no harshness to it. The thinness kind of takes away from the smooth and creaminess of it. Medium to high carbonation, absolutely, positively, it is. I know those words I just said, most of them weren't real, but yes, highly carbonated. In fact, there, I couldn't hold it back anymore. Maybe I'll edit that out. Maybe I won't. You'll be the first to know. Let's move on here. I'm going to pause the video. I am going to fill out a score sheet, a BJCP score sheet, and then come back and talk about what I found for this episode. I don't have any real special goals. I just kind of want to fill a score sheet out. It's been about a week since I recorded the last video, if you've seen it, so I want to get back into the groove. I kind of want to not try to find flaws. I just want to talk about what I find in this one and not really worry about where the score lands. It's probably going to be, I don't know, it could be high or low. It might not be super accurate, but yeah, I just want to really work on what I find in these beers. So I can't do that if I don't pause everything and get to it, so I'm going to do that right now. We are back, or I'm back. You're still there. So I filled out my score sheet. I am pretty proud of this. It might not be the best or the prime example of this, but I'm really happy that I was able to pick out what I picked out and fill out almost everything. In fact, except for overall impression, that's the only place I left lines, and I'm going to talk about that. I've overfilled the lines because I didn't run out of things to say, which was nice. But before we get to that, let's do I'm going to do the competition pour so you can see exactly everything I was talking about. Mainly, here's what the head looked like at a competition pour. So take a good look at that. It'll make sense here, especially when I get to that part. Actually, I don't know where I was pointing that out. I was pointing that nowhere near the camera lens. Okay, let's get to this. So all the usual formalities were done. Category 2. Subcategory C, entry number Shiner Bock. Subcategory International Dark Lager. Bottle inspection, appropriate size, cap, fill level, label removal, etc. Check mark. Comments, proper fill, branded cap, good hiss at opening. Now, one thing I didn't do was really work on my handwriting, so knock on wood that I can read this the first time through. We'll see. So, aroma. I said noticeable caramel sweetness immediately picked up. Very faint, earthy, almost floral hop aroma. Barely detectable. No noticeable or overwhelming esters or phenols. Caramel note accentuated with increased temperature and swirling in sample glass. I gave that 11 out of 12. Appearance, dark amber in color, just bordering on light brown. Crystal clear sample, no particulates found at all. Medium rocky beige head that dissipated quickly to barely a collar of small to medium bubbles around the sample glass. Now, one thing I wish I had done, and I intended to do this, but I didn't, and maybe I'll be able to do it in future ones. I did mean to hold it up to the light to see if there's any hues. Now, doing this right now as we're speaking, I see there are no like unusual color hues compared to what I described, but I did mean to do that because if I found some, I wanted to note them. I had no trouble filling out the appearance, but that is something that if it's there is worth noting and is more adjectives and more descriptions and more things towards building up your score. So I need to learn to do that in future episodes. And I gave that a 3 out of 3 for appearance. Flavor, decidedly sweet on the tongue, finishing with a caramel, light molasses taste that lingers. Wasn't able to read that. Clean hop bitterness that balances to sweet nicely. Or balances the sweet nicely. I did write 2. If I proofread this, I would have taken a 2 out and put sweet, or and so that sentence should say clean hop bitterness that balances the sweet nicely. Recognizable fermentation characters, clean with a presence of alcohol that isn't harsh, solventy, or in the way of the malt and hop bitter balance. And I give it an 18 out of 20. Moving on to mouthfeel, light moving to medium mouthfeel, highly carbonated with the carbonation remaining during the entire tasting. There is a noticeable carbonic bite that tames the sweetness, a light creaminess that is more noticeable as the sample temperature increases, and I gave that a 4 out of 5. Overall impression. Now this is where I kind of ran out of stuff to say because, well, let me read it first and then it'll make more sense. A very well brewed and designed beer, an excellent sample of this style. I enjoyed drinking this very much and would not hesitate to drink this again given the opportunity. Well done. Gave that a 10 out of 10. And if you add that up, it's 46, and that is outstanding. It's only 4 points away from 50. And that is, I think, where I just ran out of things to talk about an overall impression because I didn't find any flaws. I didn't find anything really wrong with it in style, at least from what I know of the style so far. So those 2.5 lines that are empty would normally be where I give my suggestions on what would fix the flaws or could fix the flaws or enhance the beer. And I didn't really find anything to note about that. I do need to do that when we judge. We're going to be given 6 samples. 5 of those are not perfect, but there is one that's perfect. So I have to kind of recognize when I'm at least close to perfect. Obviously, this is not, I didn't give it a 50, and the beer we have most likely won't be a 50, but it's going to be really close. It's going to be outstanding. I really need to recognize that, but I think I do need to make a better effort to fill out all the lines. But having said that, I am extremely happy with what I was able to come up with, and this is just, what are we? I kind of lost count of the episodes. We're less than 10 in, and I already am feeling an improvement. There's a lot more work to be done. I need a lot more descriptors. I need to be able to pull out specifics better, but it's getting there. It would be a little harder to continue doing this if I was even this amount of episodes in, or maybe even a little more, and not finding improvement. Finding improvement this early on is really encouraging. I would not be surprised to find out there might be some step backwards coming because there's many, many, many beers to judge, but it's really giving me a little bit of encouragement to continue this project because this is something I really want to accomplish. I really want to get my certification. So this has been a positive experience. I'm hoping the next one carries on, but we're going to talk about that in the next episode. So for that, on that note, I should say, let's wrap up this episode. The last thing I do have to do, of course, is thank you for watching. I'll be back with a new episode soon. We are starting with style 3 now, new set of styles, starting with 3A, which I believe is pale Czech lagers. It's all going to be Czech lagers. And tasting is going to be interesting, but we'll cross that bridge when we come to it. And that bridge is starting to be built in the next episode. So I will be back with that episode very soon.